the amount of people that waited for you outside there when you came off the field, and Bafana just beat Egypt 1-0. What does these type of victories mean for the people back home, especially considering the way the campaign went?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably difficult to describe it because all of us are very, very passionate about playing for the Proteas, you know, and that I've said that on so many times that that's been my absolute purpose the last year. I haven't even looked at anything else because there's such a big desire to play for the Proteas and do well. So obviously when it doesn't go according to plan, which it didn't do for the first 7 games of this tournament, then it hurts because you're very proud to play for the Proteas. So I'm you know, obviously after a tough tour, I'm just glad that hopefully the team could put a small smile on the South African supporters' face again. I know they just as much as we do enjoy beating Australia. I mean, there's always rivalry there, so a small smile, but we'll take it.
Faf, was there an overall farewell team to the match today? Like in terms of you guys, there were lots of hugs and lots of emotion when you scored the 100, when you walked off the field, and even during the innings break, Otis Gibson was hugging everyone. Was there just a farewell team overall?
I've said it a few times that I think the one thing that has been true to and consistent through losing and winning has been the team morale. Yes, obviously we've been very disappointed how it's gone, but I never really felt that behind closed door that there was excuses being made or fingers being pointed at players in the team or coaching staff, and that's a real positive for me to take away from a disappointing tour. That the one positive bar the last 2 games has been the fact that we do. There's more that we do than just cricket. You know, that means that as a team we show great unity in tough circumstances, and that's when you get tested as a team. The cracks can appear, and you can really start blaming each other. And I never felt at this tournament. So, I mean, that is a real positive for me as the captain. That I can say I'm really proud of that things are right in the team. Obviously, performances, we weren't up to scratch where we needed to be in the first 7 games, inconsistent. But the last 2 games have been brilliant. We've played some remarkable cricket, and it's sad that it didn't happen earlier. But it was always, I mean, I've said it, and it does probably sound not right, but we weren't far off. It's just a case of, like I said, someone just going and getting a 100. Or one bowler just really bowling well on the day. And that's the small margins of international cricket. The teams here have been very, very strong, and if you're not on top of your game, you get beaten. And we were on the wrong side of that this tournament.
Looked like a lot of your plans were today. What did you identify before the game as being the real keys to knocking off Australia? And I guess just a tip on who wins it from here.
Yeah, it's just always for me when you play Australia, you need to be up for the fight. You know, you're up for the challenge. It is a team that, if you slightly off in terms of being up for the fight, they will believe, and that is a fact. They've shown that on a lot of occasions. So that's always my message when we play against Australia: is make sure that you are there to, you know, look your opposition in the eye and fight for your country. It doesn't mean abuse, but it's just that presence that you have. And I think it brings the best out of all of us as a team, because we've probably played our best cricket the last 2 years against Australia, you know, because we do raise our intensity a little bit more, which should be there for all games. But I can't tell you why it's not, but it's even for me personally, when I get confronted with playing against Australia, there's an extra motivation for me, because there's been past successes that I've got through, and I can rely on that. And your second part was just going forward, eh?
Just who wins it?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think Australia and India has proven it time and time again that they are teams that win big games. I mean, it's hard to look past Australia and the success that they've had in winning World Cups. As much as we would like to say we want to compete with that, the confidence that an Australian team comes into a World Cup with what was it, 4 or 5 times that they've lifted the trophy, that confidence is just like an extra player in your team. So Australia would be, they've got a tough game in the semi-final. They would have probably preferred playing against New Zealand. I would say one of Australia or India.
Faf, that was a pretty emotional celebration after you got 200. Was that your last one-day knock for the Proteas?
It was just, I've been batting. I felt like I've batted really well throughout this competition, and I had high expectation of myself as a player, but also as a captain to lead from the front. My goals was to make sure that I'm the leading run scorer for this team, and I wanted to lead from the front. So the fact that I've been batting really well the whole tournament, and so desperate to get 100, because I can't talk about getting hundreds if I'm not getting hundreds myself. I need to do that firstly, and then only I can look at other players. So the fact that I've been getting 50s and 60s right through the tournament, and obviously the previous game probably would have got 100 if there was more time, but obviously just a little bit too late in that regard. But that was just, I suppose, relief of emotion, showing that I've been really wanting to get that 100 for the team. So that was purely the reason for that. And then going forward, I don't know right now. As I said before, the previous or the what do you call it, before the game yesterday. I love playing for South Africa, and I hope that that's still something that but the big thing for me is to have purpose as a leader. I don't want to just play games for the sake of playing games. When I play, I want to make sure that I'm motivated to keep doing it. And right now, sitting here, I am still very, very much motivated. But I decided way before this World Cup that I was going to play the World Cup, win or lose, good or bad, and then after the tournament, sit down and just, like anything, just really look at how hungry you are, how motivated, what is Cricket South Africa, what is their plan. So, those things will happen over the next 3-4 weeks. But I really enjoyed today, so it'll be hard to walk away from the feeling of today and playing international cricket. But that will probably be decided in front of a fireplace with a glass of red wine in my hand.
Faf, speaking about last games, JP and Imi played the last game today. Just a word about their contribution, especially under your captaincy.
Yeah, 2 guys that I've got absolute so much respect for. Imran, if you go right back, Imran started with me at the Titans. He was straight out of Pakistan, and it was like from Lahore into the Titans. So I have played a long time with Imi, and I play with him in the IPL as well. He's just got an incredible amount of passion and love for the game of cricket, and he really commits to whichever team he plays for, because he's such a big-hearted player. He's got the same amount of energy everywhere he goes. If he's playing a domestic game or international game, South Africa's hands down by far our best celebrator ever. So I hope that people would remember that, because that inspires kids. Kids will, when they're running around at under 11 at cricket, they want to do what Emi does. So yeah, he's been a fantastic cricketer, but in terms of what he brings to our team has been really special, because he's a really caring person. I'll make sure that I keep pushing him to be hungry to play for us in the T20 World Cup. I think he'll be a big player. So over the next while, I think he'll be released a little bit from international commitments, just so that we can make sure that we can get him back for in a year's time in that T20 World Cup. And JP has been the father figure of the team for a long time now. He's been my soundboard in the team. He's a very, very wise man. So it's always nice for me to have him around, just to talk to him about how I'm feeling, what's the team's feeling. He's the guy that has the the conversations with guys in the team, just how they're feeling, how they're going. So he's the father figure on the side. And I know with him, it's, the last year or two has probably not gone as well as he would have liked. But he's had a great career, and he can be incredibly proud of what he produced for. I think he's played the most one-day cricket in our team right now, so he's the most experienced. So I wish him well for what lies ahead. I'm sure it will be in cricket. I think he will be perfectly suited, even in the future, for the Proteas to just be a bit of a mentor, to help young players deal with what they're feeling, because he's a "what are you feeling" kind of guy. He loves that chat. So I think there'll be a good space for him to move into that.
Faf, do you think that plans for 2023 should start as early as possible in terms of a 4-year cycle, and identifying a blueprint and one coach and one captain and one group of players all kind of, working together for that whole period? Is that something we should be doing?
I think in a perfect world, yes. Obviously 2 guys are retiring, but maybe 1 or 2 more guys are a little bit older now. So in a perfect world, you would like to do that. I think there is still a space for the in-between of now and 4 years' time. So even if your plan is to start introducing some young players, I think you need to have some experience around those players, because they learn very quickly from those guys. From a leadership point of view, whoever's going to be the next captain, I think there's still a lot of value of playing with me for a year or 2 to make sure that they can learn and grow and mature into what will be the next World Cup. I think to say completely cut off everything is not necessary. I think probably 4 or 5 players make space into the team, and then you start phasing it out by getting players ready for 4 years' time. Yeah, the last part was the coach question. Yeah, I said initially the plan was me and Otis to go till the T20 World Cup, so that's only in a year's time. For us, it was not to look past that, both of us. That will be, if Cricket South Africa believes that they can do still that, and then change their coach and captain probably after that tournament, and still have what will be 2.5, maybe 3 years before the World Cup. That's also a possibility. But I don't have idea what their thinking is. So I haven't had conversations with anyone back home. So I assume that all of that stuff will fall onto my plate after this.
Yeah. Just a word about Rassie's innings today and the form he's shown at this tournament. He's had to wait a long time for his chance on the international stage. What was it like batting with him today? Yeah,
I mentioned in the post-match with Mark Nicholas that he asked me the same question. I said that today was a great example of Rassie for young players out there, that you start your innings and absolutely everything is going wrong. He's hitting every fielder. 5 of 30 balls or 20 balls or whatever, 95% of players would panic, and they would try and hit their way out of it. But the conversations with me and him there was just to stay calm, trust your game. It will turn. You'll hit one in the middle and then you will roll. But he's a very composed player, and that's why he's done so well so quickly, because he's got a very mature head on his shoulders. Yeah, I think Rassie has got a good future ahead of him. Maybe in all 3 formats for South Africa. He's got that. I think that extra thing that is required to do well at the international stage. And that you can see that when big moments prevent themselves or show themselves, Rassie has been probably there all the time. So he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Faf, do you think your team played as well as they did today because they've had a bit of a break and able to get out the bubble and the pressure's been off, or did they finally find their best game today?
I think both. We've had conversations behind closed doors about this, and I'm a big believer that, especially your more experienced players, your more players that know their game, are best when fresh. I speak on my own behalf and personal that, you know, after the 4 days that I had now, you know, coming back just away from the game, just away from everything that's been going on, I came back and the net session that I had was probably the best one on tour, you know. But I have gone through the ups and downs, and I know now what is required. And the younger players are probably a little bit different. They need to feel like they are prepared for the game. They need to hit a lot of balls. Maybe Mark Quinney, he just goes on feel. But yeah, so I think it was a good example once again that it is something that we need to learn from a team point of view. That is, if there's an opportunity to make sure that players can get rest, especially before a tournament like this going forward, we need to take it because I mean, I think in all sports you are your best when fresh mentally. Because it's that's extra 10%. Which we probably lacked in the first 7 games. It's the battle of the mind, and that's possibly something that we can learn from.
Last 3, please. Daniel, Myron, and Kim.
Faf, after the Pakistan defeat, we asked you about your legacy, and you were pretty honest about that, and pretty down on that. Now, after a victory and after 100 for yourself, if this is your last game, ODI game for South Africa, how do you think you'll be remembered?
You know, it was a weird one because I didn't feel, I mean, as I said, I felt like I've batted well through the competition, but it's just felt, I take it very personal, the fact that the team don't do well. It is something that I'm very proud of. So if I got 400s and we're still in the same position that we were, I would still feel exactly the same way. And that's why it doesn't sit well with me, the performance that we've had, because it was under the standard that we have in this team. So to at least prove to ourselves and to the people that this is still a great team, and the performance of the last 2 games have done that. Obviously, rightly so, people gave us a lot of stick because we didn't produce that cricket, but we didn't turn into a bad team in over 2 weeks' time. So yeah, it's good for me now that we can show the world that we are still a very good cricket team. There's 1 or 2 things that you hope will fall in your favour, a little bit of luck here and there, no injuries, and then your performances need to be more match-winning innings. And that was the difference between the top teams and the teams that didn't make the semis.
Faf, 3 World Cups later, and in 4 years' time, the team that goes to 2023 will be vastly different. Just in terms of what you've seen, having captained here and played in a couple of other World Cups, can you perhaps pinpoint what it would take for this Proteas team to eventually win a World Cup?
Difficult answer. I don't know, to be honest with you. Probably learnings from this one is that, if you have the last 2 years with this team, we've always struggled a little bit with balance. We're always a batter light, a bowler light. So I'm hoping that in 4 years' time, naturally that will sort itself out. The perfect combination team-wise is you've always got a 6 bowling option as a captain, and then you've got a top 7 plus maybe all-rounders at 8 and maybe even 9. And if you look at the teams that are here, a lot of them have that. They've got a great balance, long batting lineups, great pace. I think you could see the success of this tournament has been the fact that the teams that have done well have got fast bowlers in their team. Stark, Ferguson, and England's got what's his surname now? Archer. They've been their 3 best bowlers in their teams. And I'm so glad for KG today. KG showed, what makes KG a world's best. He was at his best again today. That first couple of overs to David Warner was like the Test series in South Africa when he was pumped up and bowling at him. So it was great to see him back at his best. But I'm hoping balance. I'm hoping that balance over the next 4 years that can be a real area of making sure that we are a little bit stronger, because we'll always have pace in South Africa, so that will be a great asset. Spin, the next World Cup's in India, how well we play spin and how many options we have as spin. I think right now in our team you've got 3 or 4 really good players of spin, and then you've got some young guys that's got some time on their side to get better. So that will be the difference between doing well and not.
Faf, you've probably had a bit of time for hindsight now, and you've mentioned before that the start of the tournament you felt was what really cost you guys. Do you feel that maybe coming into the tournament there'd been a lot of talk about playing aggressive cricket, positive cricket, using fast bowlers, that sort of thing? Do you feel maybe that there might have been a couple of mixed messages at the start there with, first game against England, pace off the ball was the big thing, and then against Bangladesh, maybe not laying down a markup, taking a less aggressive approach and bowling first?
I think that probably changed the day that we didn't have the bowling attack that we would have wanted. So that was the plan going into the World Cup, that whatever runs we got, we backed our bowling attack to get less, to do it better than the runs that we got. So when that changed, we didn't play one game with our full strength team this World Cup. So we never had Dale Steyn available. Lungi played one game, but Lungi was always a little bit under where he himself wanted to be. He came off an injury, 2 injuries actually before this World Cup. We tried to get him to have some game time, but unfortunately it's off season in South Africa, so there was no cricket for him. So our X factor that we had as a team wasn't there, and therefore we needed to change and adapt and try and win a different game, a different way and a different style. So I think it's not necessarily where we went out against England and we try to hit every ball for 6. They just got a biggish score and I think you've seen right through this World Cup, if you get runs on the board 320 plus, it hasn't been really defended that much. And obviously vice versa, if we've bowled teams and we've kept them down to a low score, then we've batted at a completely different tempo. So the first 3 or 4 games we chased 330 probably every game. Bangladesh, yes, hindsight, I would bat first on that track. The tricky part with subcontinent teams is if you can get them out for 250 or 280, then you can easily chase it down. But if they get 320, then they become right in the game. So our plan that day was never for them to get 330. It was to bowl them out for 250. If you look at Afghanistan and both Sri Lanka, we did bowl them out and we chased those scores down very, very easily. So that's always the risk that you take when you're playing against a subcontinent team. When they get a score on the board, their spinners are in the game, and that's what happened on that day. So, I look back at the toss as something that I could change, but our skills were never there against Bangladesh. We bowled very, very poorly that day. And batting we tried, but we were chasing I think we chased 340 or something that day. So it was 40, 50 runs too many.
Thank you very much.